Here I have two very impressive mini LED TVs, a very popular one and quite an expensive one from Samsung, the QN90F. This one is priced at £2,299 here in the UK at the time of this video. And I have a much more affordable mini LED TV from an up and coming brand here in the UK. And this one is called the TCL C7K. The retail price on this at the time of this video is £1,099. And if you're not familiar with TCL just yet, you should probably know that they consistently rank among the top 3 TV manufacturers on the planet. And by the time you finish watching this video, you will have a good idea what you get for the money with these two TVs and whether it's worth spending more or less. Okay, so let's start with the design. So sitting in front of these TVs, they do look very similar. There is, of course, the differences in the logos and the placement of those logos. Both TVs do have this really nice metal trim all the way around the frame. And the most noticeable design difference between the two is the base. Both of the stands of these two TVs sit really nice and flush to the surface that they're placed on, making them perfect for placing soundbars in front of them. However, the Samsung stand does not have the ability to adjust its height, whereas the TCL stand does have various height adjustments, which does mean you can place taller soundbars in front of the TCL TV if you wanted to. And on top of that, the back of the TCL stand offers more cable management slots than the Samsung's. However, the Samsung stand is full metal, which is really nice, and I do think it looks a little bit nicer, but the Samsung is noticeably more wobbly on its feet. And if you don't care about the stands at all, both TVs do support VESA mounting for wall brackets if you want to go down that route. Now here is where the design of the two TVs start to differ quite a lot, and it is when you look at them from the side. So the profile on the Samsung QN90F is so much thinner, and that's definitely more aesthetically pleasing. However, the extra depth on the C7K from TCL is intentional because they've thrown in some pretty powerful audio hardware. And in fact, this is one of the biggest selling points for this TV. The speakers on the C7K have been tuned by Bang & Olufsen, a Danish audio company who have been in the audio game for 100 years. And I will do a little sound test comparison for you guys if you stick around. So yeah, that's coming up soon. Now, when it comes to the ports, both the TVs have 4 high-speed HDMI 2.1 ports for PS5, Xbox, Nintendo, or your PC gaming devices. And both TVs have a USB 3.0 port, as well as your usual RF, antenna, and satellite connections, along with audio options like analog audio and optical audio. And those high-speed HDMI ports are great if you're a gamer. And interestingly, both of these TVs have very fast refresh rates. The Samsung goes all the way up to 165 Hz, fantastic if you're going to hook up a PC to this TV. But the TCL goes one further at 244 Hz. That is at full HD though, but that's a lot faster than the Samsung. And I guess this is only really important if you're a PC gamer. And if you are a gamer, both TVs do support VRR, G-Sync and FreeSync Premium Pro. All right, here is where things start to differ significantly. It is the software. So the operating systems are very different. Samsung uses their own Tizen TV software, which is very bright, it's very vivid and very colorful and impressively fast. Access to all the popular TV streaming apps is available here, as you would expect. And overall, it's a very intuitive and easy to use operating system, with its big advantages over the TCL being its ecosystem stuff, the Samsung Smart Things software, which will only be important to you if you already own loads of Samsung smart home stuff like washing machines, dishwashers, robot vacuums, but also if you have Samsung Galaxy devices like the phones and the tablets. Those all tie in to the ecosystem and work really seamlessly with the Samsung TV. And a little bonus for the Samsung software is that they do have Xbox Cloud streaming service. Now, on the other hand, TCL utilizes a very clean version of Google TV. This means the compatibility with Android and Google devices in general will be very seamless. And on top of that, Google do have one of the largest app libraries when it comes to TV software. And it's very easy to use. And whilst you can't get the Xbox Cloud streaming service, there are other game streaming services like GeForce Now. Both of the softwares actually offer fantastic customization options and advanced settings if you need them. Both support voice controls. However, Google Search and Google Voice is the #1 in the game. And actually, if Google integrate Gemini into the software on the TVs, well, then that will truly be next level AI on the TV. Now, I do realize there's probably quite a few iPhone users watching this video and thinking, Galaxy, Android, what about iOS? Well, both TVs do support AirPlay. However, the TCL does support HomeKit without the need of any third-party software. You can do it on Samsung, it's just a little bit more tricky. All right, now let's do the sound test segment and see what these Bang & Olufsen speakers are all about. And please leave your honest opinion on the sound differences that you can hear in the comments below. So the Samsung QN90F's power output is 30 watts and it has a 4.2.2 channel setup. And here's my opinions on the sound quality on the Samsung QN90F. So it's got a real focus on the high and mid frequency, so vocal range is really going to pop and stand out. You do get some bass, it's not like rumbling bass, but it is there, you can hear it and it's not bad. It's very impressive given how thin this TV is. Okay, so the Bang & Olufsen setup, here's the differences that I can notice. So because of that extra depth, you do get more movement of air inside the cabinet of the TV, which results in slightly deeper bass. This TV also shines in clarity in the vocal range and the mid frequencies, but the biggest difference between the two is the loudness, and that's probably because the TCL TV does have double the power output. So instead of 30 watts power output, the TCL actually has 60 watts. And on top of that, the TCL does support Dolby Atmos sound, DTS, Virtual X, and it does have upmixing technology that can take the stereo sound source and turn it into an almost spatial audio experience. But I guess the sound quality of the speakers will only matter to you if you're not going to be attaching external audio equipment. So now let's move on to the all-important aspect that everybody will care about, the picture quality. So when watching 4K HDR content side by side on these two TVs, the TCL C7K at half the price of the Samsung proves to be a worthy competitor. Out of the box on its default settings, the color saturation on the TCL is more pronounced, making more colorful scenes look slightly more vibrant and sometimes more lifelike. But of course, both TVs do have a bunch of different color calibration options. You could even pay for professional color calibration, and the Samsung does have an AI mode where it will detect what's on screen and change the color profile according to that. So everything could change with the touch of a button. But the fact that they're so close is kind of a big deal when you consider the price of the TCL. Something that stands out to me when watching darker scenes on these two TVs is the peak brightness appears to be slightly brighter on the QN90F. And when it comes to black levels, both TVs use a full array mini LED panel, which does mean it can switch off zones when there is no light needed. But something you should be aware of is that TCL has introduced their very impressive all-domain halo control here on the C7K. To explain it very simply, it's a precision local dimming algorithm that's designed to minimize light bleed even more than mini LEDs can do already. And I'll be honest, I'm an OLED guy, but I'm super impressed with how good the black levels are. And even when shown directly next to white. And when it comes to dynamic range, these two TVs again are pretty close. And if you look closely here at the black and white leather on this golf club caddy bag, I think that's what it's called, both the TVs are able to display the same amount of detail in the bright and the dark areas. And that's why I said it's very closely contested here. Now, if you are buying a TV for sports, well then motion smoothness, refresh rate, and all of the AI features that can make things look nice and sharp, even when the cameras are moving really fast, will be important to you. And again, both TVs excel when it comes to this, and they're very close again. And considering the price points, you would really expect to see a bit more of a difference here, but to be honest, it is very close. Now, when it comes to reflections, the Samsung QN90F does have an edge because it has this anti-reflective coating on the glass. So that could give it an advantage in a bright room. But when it comes to viewing angles, interestingly, TCL are using a different type of LED display technology here. It's called HVA, High Vertical Alignment. This is said to increase the contrast ratio and improve the viewing angles in comparison to more commonly used vertically aligned panels, VA panels. So technically between these two, the viewing angles should be better on the TCL. Now let's say you plan to watch regular TV, standard dynamic range content and lower resolution content. I tested this out with a clip of Gravity, the movie, and interestingly both the TVs make the content look like HDR, and these scenes where there's lots of little stars is a really great test for the backlighting systems. One thing I did notice about standard dynamic range content is that Samsung's upscaling AI is actually very good. It sharpens up all of the edges and makes things look more like 4K. However, sometimes in the brighter areas you will see some artifacts, which to be honest is not going to bother many people, but there are some purists out there who just automatically switch off all of these kind of AI features because they prefer the content as it is. So I guess you really have to decide whether that matters much to you or not. And that brings me very nicely onto the pros and cons. And these are just my personal opinions. I'm not basing this off of the specs on paper or anything like that. So with the Samsung QN90F, you do pay the Samsung tax just to rock the Samsung badge. But on top of that, what you actually get for the extra £1,200 is this. You get a thinner frame, a very good 4.2.2 speaker setup, a solid metal stand, a slightly brighter picture than the TCL, and I'm told there are more dimming zones. You also get a really nice anti-reflective surface and a second remote, which I really like, and apparently this charges off of RF frequencies. And of course you get all of Samsung's AI features and ecosystem software tools. Overall, it's hard to deny that this is a very impressive mini LED TV. On the other hand, the TCL C7K offers a very similar mini LED TV technology. When sitting in front of the two TVs, the designs are very similar. However, it does have that slightly thicker frame, largely due to the larger Bang & Olufsen speaker setup and woofers inside the TV, which is really fantastic for anybody who's shopping for a TV that's kind of an all-in-one and doesn't want to attach any external audio equipment. And while you do get that more classic stand style, it does also offer more cable management, and it's also a bit more stable than the Samsung. The TCL also offers some fantastic features when it comes to color picture profiles. For example, it does have a dedicated IMAX mode for watching IMAX content, and then specific modes for specific streaming services. So those are really nice touches if you care about color accuracy. And then of course you get all of the advantages that Google TV has to offer. And if you're a PC gamer and 165 Hertz just isn't enough for you, well, the TCL does have that 244 Hertz support, which might be overkill for some people, but it's nice to have. And then of course there is the biggest advantage of going with the TCL. You get to walk away with an extra £1,200 in your bank account. And if this video has just helped you save some money, well then, lend us some money, will ya? There's a super thanks below this video. So let me know in the comments, guys, which one of these two TVs would be right for you. Which one would you choose? Let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this one. A little thumbs up would be appreciated if you did. And if you just subscribed, you're now one of the finest subscribers known to man. See you in the next one. Don't be late.